Hello and welcome to Justified Dual Podcast. I am your host, Joann Cox, and it is so great to be in front of you again. And today we are going to be with small business owners right here in the local area. And this, when I say area, not necessarily Fayetteville, Lillington, Cameron, all over in this particular area. And my purpose is to edify and introduce you to someone that possibly you don't know, also to introduce you to someone that can come into your life and guess what? Make it even better. Who else? But I have a guest today, and her name is Nisla Love, and she does so many things, but we don't have time to break it all down. But I'm telling you, she is a published author, she is a coach, she is a tax consultant, strategist, and guess what? She is a great person at heart. Now, when you put all that and wrap it up, how else can you be a better business owner? So she's going to add to that introduction, but I'm going to say to you, welcome, Nisla Love. How are you?
I'm doing great, Joann. How can I add to that? That is thank you. I just think about like all the stuff that you do, you just do it. You don't even realize that you're doing all this stuff. So you had me going like, wow, I did all that.
Yes, it is. And on top of that, she's well known by other people, as in saying that she's great about it. So that is the reason why she's on Justified Your Podcast, because it got back to me and I was going, I have a business and I'm not using her for tax consulting. Okay, all right. So we're going to start out with which one would you like to talk about first? And then I'll start with some questions.
Okay, well, since you talked about taxes, so let's talk about taxes and then we can talk about coaching and anything else that you want to talk in reference to that. So, okay, so tax strategists. One
Mm-hmm.
thing I love helping people. And that's one of the things that you need in business. I mean, that's why we're in business because we help people and you got to love what you do. If not, I always joke and say that you'll be that disgruntled employee in your own business. So you don't want that, right?
Right.
But what we do here at Choose Love Solution, we have an accounting firm, which we provide tax planning services all year round, advisory services for our clients so we can help alleviate the tax burden. And when I say that, so once you start making substantial money and you're paying a lot in taxes, there's other ways to lower that legally through the tax code. And so that's where we come in and we help alleviate, lower your tax liability with different strategies in place. And when you have a tax event, which is everything in your business, we are there to help and guide you to make sure that you are in the up and up compliance and also you are doing what you need to do to keep more money in your pocket and continue to build that wealth.
Oh, okay. Now she used the term substantial amount. What is
Mhm.
considered substantial?
So I'm glad you asked that. Substantial amount can be from, okay, I started my business. I So now I was making $10,000 maybe for the year because you just started a business, and then now you double that, and now you find yourself like, oh my gosh, I have a tax bill, and then there's a lot of reasons where you need to take because at the same time as you grow, you want to make sure you have the tools necessary. You don't want to be that person where you just like, oh, I'm all in, I'm doing a business, and you paying stuff, paying yourself. And then when tax season come, you have to pay this $8,000, this $10,000, $20,000, and you don't have the money for it. And so what we're doing here at Choose Love Solution, we're getting away from just having a tax appointment, from having a tax strategy, where let's talk about what you're doing throughout the year, throughout the
Mhm.
months, so that way there will be no surprises when it comes to tax season. And tax season wouldn't be a surprise; it wouldn't even be a burden. So many people dread it, and so by having a plan and a strategy, it'll be just another day.
Yeah, because we know that old saying, as surely as you're born, there are two things you have to do. You have to die and you have to pay taxes. So, with all that being said, those are two subjects that people usually don't want to talk about.
I know they don't, but see, that's the thing is that's what we're here for. We're here to help.
To
And I,
prepare.
yeah, because I realized that doing just the idea about tax, people cringe and just like get tied up and things like, I don't want to deal with it. And that's the worst thing that you can do in your business, because that is the
Mm-hmm.
foundation of your business,
Mm-hmm.
is your books and your taxes. You want to stay in business. And I always say, if you want to play and have a business and, be reputable, you got to pay your taxes. And
Mm-hmm.
you got to be in compliance. Compliance is number one. There's no way getting away from that. You have to be in compliance, file your tax returns, have your documents. Those are key. But then at the same time, how are you keeping your money, and how's your money growing? As your business grow, your strategy should grow. It shouldn't be, okay, I'm going to meet my specialist on April and then, or March, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I come in contact with people say, well, I don't owe anything. Well, I'm like, okay, that's great. But there's so much on the tax code that you can take advantage of. Because let me tell you a secret. The tax code was created for businesses. I
Yes,
said
that's
it.
what we want to hear.
It's made for businesses. So
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with you saying that, I'm going to stick to nothing but taxes, and I'm going to do something and ask her, please come back for the other subjects, okay? The other
Okay.
titles that you
Okay.
have, because now, taxes is an all year round thing,
It
and
is on
people
you.
and
Hmm.
people are thinking that, now let me go sit in this little office somewhere, and then they're going to tell me what to do and what not to do. Now
Right.
you don't have all the paperwork, that if you had a strategist to tell you what you need to do for these,
Right.
these 12 months, that you should plan
Right.
out 13 months and separate all these things. And how do I organize? Okay, I'm a business
Mhm.
person, so tell me. And I forgot to tell the viewers, always have pencil and paper, because you got to take notes, even though you can play
Okay.
this 100 times, but now you got to rewind and do all that. So start taking notes right now, and
Okay.
continuously choose lovesolutions.com. I forgot
Mhm.
to ask her to put that up where her name was. Okay. So we'll
Oh,
just
okay.
keep saying
Let me
that.
get
Okay.
that. Okay. I'll
Um, yeah, chooselovesolutions.com. Now, in preparation of this for a small business owner, and you mentioned the fact that, someone just getting started out, because they are believing that they don't need a strategy because they're not
Mm.
making any money. But any money coming in is considered making money.
Yes. Yes. So, oh my gosh. Yes. 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 I'm gonna say it again. Yes. It's making money.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and I realized that, a lot of people, when you hear strategy, like, oh, I can't afford it. And I'm going to say you can't afford not to have it. So, this is what you do when you start your business. You start planning, you start planning for the future. And it's
Mm-hmm,
nothing wrong with that. Like, how do you see yourself in 5 years, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months? And
mm-hmm,
then if you have steady income in, how are you going to manage that? It's, like you have the cash flow in reference to that. So you can have, and then I can tell you, and I can attest to this when I first started business, where, because I didn't know anything about it before being a tax strategist, I was actually a coach, and I was just so excited. I wanted to help people. And so when I filed my taxes, I think I made about 20,000, but I'm like, where's that money?
yeah.
where, where,
On paper, that's what you
yeah,
made. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm making all this
Where
money
is
on
it?
the paper. Where this money at? Where is it at? But see, that's the thing. You don't want to be like, okay, I got to pay all this stuff. I got to do all this stuff. But you want to be able to manage it. And so having that money, you want to account for it, because you're gonna have to pay taxes. And I hear time people like, oh, I never have to pay taxes, or I do it. But I would encourage you, like, if you've been in business 5 or 6 years, or even 3 years, you want to make sure that your entity that you have selected is still
Mm-hmm,
working for you, because there's a possibility that you may need to adjust it.
mm-hmm. And those are things that people don't think about.
No. Mm-mm.
Let's back up. How long have you been a tax strategist?
So I've been in business for 8 years, but I've been
Okay.
doing taxes for over 20, let's see,
Mm-hmm.
over 20
Yeah.
years. So I had to
Yeah.
think about it, because I did it around the same time my second daughter. And so
Mm-hmm.
23 years. Oh my God, 23 years.
Yes.
Think
Yes.
about it. Yeah, 23 years.
And so you know a thing or two about
Yeah, I
that?
know just a little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah. And so I'm going to throw some questions at you that
Okay.
I believe that you can help our viewers with,
Okay.
and some
Go ahead.
things that I'm going to say that I've dealt with because of the fact that you were saying that, you're making money, and then this one day, you come in and you realize you owe some money, and it's
Hmm.
more than what you can afford to pay. So now you got to figure out a payment plan. All right.
Right.
And
Right.
so to avoid all of that, if you have a plan from the beginning and you know your paperwork, or maybe sometimes you need to be able to attest to, I don't really owe that because I have
Hmm.
this paperwork. When
Right.
do you get to that point where you're in disagreement with actually owing?
What do you mean by disagreement? Like,
In other words, if you and maybe this is a different subject because I'm saying that that you're maybe working under the federal government, but yet it is your own business. Uh, Maybe that might be a little bit outside of your.
okay, so you have another job and then you have your business. Is that where you're refraining
Yes,
from?
yes.
Regardless of who you work for, so you have your own business. You have your own
Mm-hmm,
business and you work for another. You have a job
company.
and you have your own business, and
Mm-hmm,
then so I know sometimes individuals, like if you're a high earner, it's like get a business and it will hopefully supplement your tax
yep, a
liability.
balance or something
You
of that
balance
nature.
out. So there is, it can be, or it cannot. It just depend on, there's a lot of factors. There could be factors of like, you have your business, do you have a lot of expenses? What kind of
Mm-hmm,
structure you have? Do you find
mm-hmm,
yourself traveling? Like what are you doing? And then also too, like there's things that you could put in place. I don't know if everyone over here, like you could employ your family member,
mm-hmm,
you give benefits. I mean, there's a list of things that you can do. So, I mean, at one point I was working, this is like when I first started, I was working, I had a job and I had my business and I
mm-hmm,
had employees.
mm-hmm.
so
That's a
and
lot.
I was just telling this to I was telling this to somebody, I was like, oh my God. So I had a business, I was working, my business, had a job, had employees, had staff, and still managing that in a way where um, that to make sure that we're growing and still being fruitful
Mm-hmm,
and not having to pay as much taxes in reference to it. So there's ways about how to do that. And I know having employees is another thing, and we could probably talk about employees versus contractors. There's different benefits for both,
mm-hmm,
but it's how you structure your business, what you have in place. So the whole idea is, let's see, as a business owner, are you fully taking advantage of all the benefits that's allowed to you? And if
mm-hmm,
you are, then there's maybe some other things that you can do to lower your tax. So if you're a high earner and you're making, when I say like, six figures, and then you pay your taxes and then you have a business and your business is profitable, but you haven't utilized all the benefit in your business, then
mm-hmm,
that's why you have a tax liability. Now, there is, just think of this. A lot of people don't think about this. So I have a job, I have
mm-hmm,
benefits. Think of all the benefits that you have as an employee. Those are the
mm-hmm,
same type of benefits that you can have in your business also.
mm-hmm. Okay. And the more you talk to people outside in a casual conversation, usually their business will come up as to what they do. And
Right,
I encountered someone about, 2 months ago, and I didn't know the answer to it because I'm not a tax strategist. But
right.
if one partner, a married couple, if one partner has one business and the other partner has another one, should they be actually doing their taxes together? Shouldn't that be two separate things?
It depends on what structure
Benefit.
they
Yeah.
have.
Mm-hmm.
Are they a Schedule C, which
Mm-hmm.
is are they a Schedule C? Are they considered self-employment? Or are they considered a partnership or an S corp or corporation? There's so many variables in it, and then so I would say this, uh, ma- hands down all the time, filing married joint. is beneficial, but there are always times where it is best to separate on paper.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it just depends on the business. Because you just think if they are self-employed, they're
Mhm.
both filing a Schedule C, which is almost, I'm not gonna say it is, almost equivalent to if you think of it like a W-2. But the benefits is that they're taking full benefits of all the employer and employee benefits that is allotted to them as a business.
Mhm.
So I had a client where they both had W-2, but they had businesses. And when you brought it together, they actually got a refund. So it's just like people don't
Mm.
think like, oh, I could get a refund. Yes, there's possibly ways of getting refund if you're strategizing and making sure that you're doing it correctly and legally.
Yes. And that is what you want to do too. You that fine line between what's legal and what's not.
Right.
But not only that, keeping up with the changes in the tax law.
Yes, you have to. You
and
have
and we and we know that when it comes to taxes, as you said, it depends on so many different things.
it
It is
does.
as different as our fingerprints. What works for my business might not work for another viewer's business. So
That's
that
right.
is the importance to me to have you on today, is to make sure that people know that we're all individuals and things keep constantly changing. And if you're wanting to grow your business and make room to grow, you definitely need someone like Nilsa to come in and to say to you, this is where I see you going, and this is what we need to
Mhm.
do right now. In
Yeah.
that, you know. And so when did you decide that it was time for you to get employees?
Oh, that's a good question. When I got tired of doing it.
I was gonna say when you started to pull your hair out and just say it's only one of me.
So when you first start your business, you're like, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. And then I realized, no, I can't do this, and I should not be doing this.
Why should you?
Right? Why should you? I hear people, and like I said, I can relate because when you first start your business, you want to be like,
Hands
um,
on.
hands on. I want to
Mhm.
learn everything. I want to quote unquote save money, but the time that takes you to save money is wasted money because that's the
Thank
money
you.
that you can actually be gaining for the business.
Mhm.
So when I would say for me, when I decided I needed to get employed is when I started growing. And when I say growing, like for me, since I did taxes in the beginning, that's all I did was taxes. So now we're doing more now.
Mhm.
When I realized like staying up late wasn't it for me.
That's a good one because you can't even think when you haven't had enough rest.
Staying up late wasn't for me. I was like, and I was younger then. I was like, no, I can't do
It's
this.
still
And
not
then
working. Yeah.
no, it wasn't working. So I needed someone to answer the phone calls. I needed somebody to respond so I could do what I need to do to produce the money. So I needed
Mm-hmm.
somebody behind the scenes to manage, to do the follow up. And
Mm-hmm.
then so I hired an assistant, hired a marketing, I hired a bookkeeping, and so it goes on and on. But yes, I realized that I actually needed them. And
As you
I
said, as you said in another statement, you're losing out by not having them.
yes,
Yeah. And you
yeah.
think you can't afford them. Most people don't have staff because they realize where am I getting the money from to pay them?
But you know what? And I want to say that that's I'm going to be very careful by saying this, but that's keeping you small by saying I can't afford it. You can't
Mhm.
afford not to.
Yeah.
And there are so many opportunities out there where you can get somebody that for 10 hours a week
Mm-hmm.
to do the little stuff so you can do the great stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that great stuff is going to produce
Mm-hmm.
more wealth, more revenue for you. So that way you can increase it. So when I hired an employee, I didn't do 40 hours. I did like 10 hours. And then I increased it as we increased. And then at some point where I was like, okay, since we're seasonal, maybe I do contract. And I did 5 hours and I increased. So it wasn't like, okay, I'm putting full-time staff 40 hours. No, you got to do baby steps. And I realized like they could do it, so I could do something great and I could produce more revenue,
Revenue.
so that way
Yes.
they can manage it, and then we increase. So if you we can I'm gonna just say this: God didn't create us to do anything by ourselves. So when we get out of our mind and say that I can do this all by myself, that's when we fail. We need
Mm-hmm.
help. Utilize the skills that people have so you can grow your business
Mm-hmm.
and be
Mm-hmm.
fruitful.
Yes, and then we have a momentum there, because if
Yes.
not, you have too many peaks and valleys, you know.
Mhm.
And I had said in my business as a speaker, I just want to show up and speak, you know, and I can do this and put more into it instead of me
Right.
trying to do the technical stuff. And I
Right.
know that my next question to you, and believe it or not, our time is almost up. But the thing is, PR, how are you finding clients? How do you get that from the beginning to where you are now?
So finding clients, believe it or not, the old fashioned way still works. Actually meeting people and networking.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't say no sim. Yes, I have marketing. Yes, I put stuff on social media and stuff like that. But people still need to know people. They need
Mm-hmm.
to know who you are so they can like, trust you, and say, okay, I want to do business with you. At the end of the day, it's about who you know and what relationship you're building.
Okay.
That's what helps it going. And then so you build a relationship with your clients will refer you out. And then you have referral partners, they'll like and trust you, and you'll refer each other out. And that's it. And the marketing is great. Marketing is great too. And also doing videos and doing speaking. Those are great ways to gain clients. And then you can probably like, well, I'm not a good speaker. Believe it or not, every time you go and you say, hey, how are you doing? And you tell somebody about your business, you
Mm-hmm.
are marketing your business. Even if
Mm-hmm.
you don't say, hey, I have a business, you are marketing because people need to know, like you, and trust you.
You are a walking billboard, number one.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the other thing is communication is not optional. We're doing it every day, but
That's
we don't
right.
but we don't know it,
That's
you know.
right.
And so if we can just keep that in mind. My last question to you is, in the tax season, I would believe that there are peaks and valleys, that
Hmm.
business come and go. And what are those time frames?
Okay. For an individual.
Peaks
So
and
you're
valleys. Yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
So it just really depends on the type of business that you have. So let's see. So you're a speaker. And so I don't know. So for a speaker per se, they always do um, like call for speakers like a year out. And
Mhm.
majority of the time, depending on the functions, is always during the fall, right before the holidays. People
Mhm.
love giving, and so there's more speaking. And then so if you could use that as an example, you probably speak more in the beginning of the year because it's a new year, new beginning. People want a new word, a new opportunity, a new message, right? And then so you have the year, and then spring, and then maybe the summer is not so much. You do a lot of networking, going to conventions and stuff like that. So knowing how your business flows can determine how your cash flows also too. And then you have to think about like, okay, so you can't, so as a business, and we all know this, you have to have multiple stream of revenue coming in. So as a speaker,
Mhm.
you have maybe you have some books, maybe you have products or whatever to give
Yeah, and you
to your
connect that.
clients. And so what I always say with that is like, so if you have a peak, a peak or a downfall, your peak should always supplement the down. So that's where the cash flow comes in and where you have to be able to manage it and know how to pay your taxes, how to function without it. And there's different ways there, and there's a lot of grants. There's a lot of grants, and you can do the loan or whatever you can. But just knowing how your business function properly and plan. And that's the key. Plan, plan,
Plan,
plan.
plan. And unfortunately, this is the end of this segment, and we are just starting to warm up. I am going to do another segment with her permission that she would come back. Not only that, I would also like to invite you for a webinar and a in-person session, because I think that just like you said with the peaks and valleys for speaking, When people
Mhm.
are wanting me to have a new life and change in January, and I'm saying maybe you should have started this in October. I don't say it like that. But that is the same thing with the taxes, right? And they
Yeah.
realize the deadline for turning in the taxes is April. And now, March, and they're going, where is that Nisla Love lady?
Right. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, you are the person that will be communicating with them and giving them a plan for the year.
Yeah. Having a plan. Oh, you can't fail without a plan. You need
You
a
know,
plan.
yes, having a plan for the year. And
Mhm.
I hate to end this segment. I didn't know it was going to grow like this, but this is the way it works. And I just know that I'm going to get questions, and you can give them to Nilsa and find out what her schedule is. And again, thank you for coming on. Choose Love Solution. How in the world could you forget a name like that? But again, thank you for coming on, Nilsa. Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
Joy. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And again, you can see me on all media sites, especially YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, and Facebook. I look forward to seeing you again. Remember to subscribe, bring a friend, and keep in tune with Justified Jewel Podcast. And I am your host saying goodbye. Thank you again.